"How dare you raise your hand against your mother?" Abuka's father asked. "What happens when Abuka, a gentle boy, turns wayward and slaps his mother?" The morning sun bathed the quiet village of Emi in a golden hue, its rays dancing across the dew-kissed leaves and thatched rooftops. Birds chirped in harmony, a melody that heralded the start of another peaceful day. Abuka, the only child of Angela and the youngest son of Ebuka, walked briskly toward the family farm, his hoe slung over his shoulder. His strong, lean frame cut a sharp figure against the lush green landscape. "Good morning, Mama Neen," Abuka greeted an elderly woman perched outside her hut, weaving a basket. "Good morning, my son," she replied, her weathered face breaking into a smile. "Your parents must be proud of you. Always hardworking and respectful. May your path be blessed." Abuka nodded, a slight blush creeping up his cheeks. He was used to such compliments. The villagers adored him for his diligence and humility, a rare combination among the youth of Emi. But today, an unease lingered in his heart, a feeling he couldn't quite place. As he reached the farm, he found his father, Ebuka, inspecting the yam mounds. Ebuka was a man of towering stature and quiet strength, his presence commanding respect. "Papa," Abuka called out, approaching him. "Ah, Abuka." "Good timing," Ebuka said, turning to face his son. "We need to prepare this section for planting before the rains come." They worked side by side in companionable silence, the rhythmic sound of the hoe cutting into the earth filling the air. But beneath Ebuka's calm demeanor lay a storm of thoughts. His gaze occasionally drifted toward the distant village, where his second wife, Neka, and her 3 children resided. Their unruly behavior had become a thorn in his side, a stark contrast to Abuka's exemplary character. As the sun climbed higher, Ebuka paused and wiped the sweat from his brow. "Abuka," he began, his tone grave, "you've always made me proud. But I worry about the future of this family." Abuka straightened, sensing the weight in his father's words. "What do you mean, Papa?" Ebuka hesitated, his brows furrowing. "You're my only son from Angela, and I've seen how you've carried yourself. When the time comes, I want you to inherit this land and everything I've worked for. You're the one who can preserve our legacy." Abuka's heart swelled with both pride and apprehension. "Papa, I will do my best to honor you and this family. But what about Neka and her children?" Ebuka's face darkened. Before Abuka could respond, a distant voice called out, shattering the moment. "Abuka! Ebuka! Lunch is ready." Angela's voice echoed through the fields. They exchanged a glance, their unspoken concerns lingering in the air as they headed home. Back at the compound, Angela set out bowls of steaming yam porridge and palm oil sauce. Her kind eyes sparkled as she fussed over her husband and son. "You two must be starving," she said, placing the food before them. As they ate, the tranquility of the moment was interrupted by loud laughter and shouting. Neka's children, Ada, Kyoma, and Obi, barged into the compound, their boisterous behavior jarring against the peaceful setting. Ada, the eldest, strutted over to Angela, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Mama Abuka, always playing the perfect wife, aren't you?" Angela stiffened but said nothing. Abuka's grip on his spoon tightened, his patience wearing thin. "Is there something you need, Ada?" Ebuka asked, his tone sharp. "Oh, nothing," Ada replied, feigning innocence. "We just came to enjoy the family meal. Isn't that right, Kyoma?" "Obi." Kyoma giggled, while Obi smirked. Without waiting for an invitation, they sat down and began helping themselves to the food. Angela's eyes darted toward Ebuka, who looked away, his jaw clenched. After an awkward silence, Abuka rose abruptly. "I'll be at the stream," he muttered, walking away before the tension could escalate. Angela and Neka shared a relationship that many in the village envied. Rather than being rivals, they treated each other as sisters, united by their shared love for Ebuka and their children. Angela's gentle demeanor complemented Neka's vibrant personality, creating a balance that nurtured harmony within the family. Neka often teased Angela about her quiet nature, while Angela admired Neka's ability to light up a room with her laughter. Together, they managed the household with grace, ensuring that no child felt unloved or neglected. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Casting a golden glow over the village, the family gathered for their customary meal. The long wooden table in the courtyard was laden with steaming dishes of yam porridge, grilled fish, and vegetable soup. Neka bustled about, ensuring everyone had their fill, while Angela ladled out portions with her usual calm efficiency. The children's chatter and laughter provided a lively backdrop to the meal. "Abuka," Ebuka said, his voice tinged with pride, "you've done well today. The elders spoke highly of your help during the communal planting." Abuka's cheeks flushed as he mumbled a modest thanks. "It was nothing, Papa. I just did what needed to be done." "That is the mark of a good man," Neka chimed in, her warm smile lighting up her face. "Doing what needs to be done without expecting praise. We are all proud of you, Abuka." Angela reached over to pat her son's hand. "Indeed, we are." The sense of camaraderie around the table was palpable. Obi chimed in with an enthusiastic, "What has Abuka done that I haven't?" causing everyone to frenzy. "Obi," Neka cautioned. Life in Me followed its gentle, predictable rhythm, but Ebuka was not one to take his blessings for granted. He often pondered the future, particularly the legacy he would leave behind. His lands were vast, his wealth modest but steady, and his reputation untarnished. He wanted to ensure that his children would not only inherit his material possessions but also his values of hard work, integrity, and unity. One evening, as he sat with Angela and Neka under the ancient Iroko tree in their courtyard, he broached the subject. "My wives," he began, his tone thoughtful, "I have been thinking about the future of our family." Angela set down her basket of yams and looked at him with quiet curiosity. Neka, who had been braiding Kayoma's hair, paused to listen. "I want to ensure that our children have a strong foundation to build their lives upon," Ebuka continued. "Abuka, being the last son, has shown great promise. He has the qualities of a leader, and I believe he is the right person to manage our lands and legacy when the time comes." Neka's response was immediately heartfelt. "You are wise, my husband. Abuka is a fine young man, and I have no doubt he will make us all proud. I hope you've not forgotten your eldest son? Still, whatever decision you make, we stand by you." Angela nodded in agreement. "Abuka has a good heart. He will honor your legacy, Ebuka." Later that evening, at the stream, Abuka splashed cool water on his face, trying to wash away the frustration that had built up for the day. Lost in thought, he didn't notice Neka approaching until her voice broke the stillness. "Abuka," she said, her tone saccharine sweet. He turned, his expression wary. "Stepmother, you must be tired from today's work," she said. "Very, very tired and hungry," he replied. "Have this roasted yam." Abuka quickly grabs the basket on her hands, seats on the floor, and starts to feast on it. Neka stepped closer, her gaze piercing. "Do you think you're better than my children?" she asked, her voice low but laced with venom. Abuka's brows furrowed. "I've never said or thought that. Liar," she hissed, her composure slipping. "You've always acted like the golden child, making the rest of us look bad. But don't think for a second that you've won." "Won what?" Abuka asked, genuinely confused. "All I want is peace in this family." Neka laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. "Peace?" Before Abuka could respond, she turned and walked away, leaving him with a sinking feeling in his chest. That night, as the family gathered for evening prayers, Abuka noticed Neka's furtive glances and the way her children whispered among themselves. Something was brewing, and he couldn't shake the sense of impending doom. After the prayers, Angela pulled him aside. "Abuka, are you all right? You've been quiet all evening." He hesitated before nodding. "I'm fine, Mama. Just tired." Angela studied him, her motherly instinct sensing otherwise. "If something is troubling you, promise me you'll tell me." "I promise," he said, forcing a smile. But as he lay in bed that night, sleep eluded him. Neka's words echoed in his mind, mingling with the memory of his father's grave expression. The once harmonious household was now a battleground, and Abuka feared the worst was yet to come. The days turned into weeks, weeks to months. The family's unity was evident to all who visited except Abuka. Neka, in particular, was well loved in the village. One afternoon, a group of women gathered in the family's courtyard for a cooking session. As they prepared food for an upcoming festival, they chatted and laughed, sharing stories and jokes. Angela, one of the women, said, "You are lucky to have Neka as your co-wife. She is like a sister to you." Angela smiled, glancing at Neka, who was skillfully pounding yam. "Luck has nothing to do with it. Neka's heart is as beautiful as her face. I am blessed to have her in my life." Little did they know that beneath the surface of this harmonious facade lay the seeds of future trials. The morning sun bathed the village of Emi in a golden hue, casting long shadows across the dusty paths that wove between the huts. Ebuka stood outside his compound, leaning on his hoe, waiting for Abuka to join him. It was their usual routine to work the family farm together, a tradition that bonded father and son. But today, Abuka was nowhere to be seen. Ebuka frowned and called out, "Abuka! It's time to leave for the farm. We're already late." From inside the house, Abuka's voice came back, sharp and dismissive. "I'm not going today, Papa. I have other things to do." Ebuka's brow furrowed. This was unlike Abuka, who had always been eager to help. He walked into the house and found his son lounging on a wooden bench, absent-mindedly flipping a small knife in his hands. "Abuka, what is the meaning of this?" Ebuka's tone was stern but measured. "The farm won't wait for us. We need to get to work." Abuka barely looked up. "I said I'm not going. Can't Obi or one of the others help you?" Ebuka's jaw tightened. "You know it's your responsibility. This farm will one day be yours. How will you manage it if you refuse to learn?" Abuka's eyes flashed with irritation. "Maybe I don't want it, Papa. Maybe I want something different for my life." The room fell silent, the weight of Abuka's words hanging in the air. Ebuka took a deep breath, struggling to keep his composure. "We will talk about this later. For now, come with me." Abuka shook his head. "I'm not coming. You can go without me." Ebuka stood there for a moment, his disappointment evident. Without another word, he turned and walked out of the house, the sound of his retreating footsteps echoing in the stillness. Later that day, Abuka wandered into the village square, his mood sour. As he passed by a group of villagers gathered under a large iroko tree, one of them, an older man named Okeke, called out to him. "Abuka, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be helping your father on the farm?" Abuka scowled. "Mind your business, Okeke. My life is not your concern." The villagers murmured among themselves, surprised by his tone. Okeke frowned but held his tongue. However, another man, younger and more hot-headed, decided to speak up. "You've grown arrogant, Abuka," the man said. "Where is the respect you used to have? Or has your father's favor gone to your head?" Abuka's temper flared. "What did you say? Don't speak to me like that." He stepped closer to the man, his fists clenched. The younger man stood his ground. "Or what? Will you fight me? Let's see if you're as strong as you think you are." Before anyone could intervene, Abuka swung a fist, landing a blow on the man's jaw. The villagers gasped as the man retaliated, and soon the two were locked in a brawl. Dust rose around them as they grappled, their shouts and grunts drawing more onlookers. Neka, who had been returning from the market, arrived just in time to see the commotion. Dropping her basket, she rushed into the fray, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Abuka! Stop this at once!" Startled, Abuka hesitated, giving the other man a chance to break free. Neka stepped between them, her eyes blazing with anger. "What is wrong with you?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "Is this how I raised you? Fighting in the village square like a common thug?" Abuka looked away, his face flushed with a mixture of anger and shame. The other man wiped blood from his lip and muttered, "He started it." Neka turned to him, her expression softening. "I am sorry for what happened. Please forgive him." The man nodded grudgingly, and the crowd began to disperse, the excitement over. Neka grabbed Abuka by the arm and led him home, her grip firm. Back at the house, Neka sat Abuka down, her anger replaced by concern. "Abuka, what is going on with you? This is not the boy I know. You've always been kind and respectful. Why are you behaving like this?" Abuka crossed his arms, avoiding her gaze. "I don't know. I'm just tired of everyone's expectations. I'm tired of being told what to do all the time. Neka sighed, her heart aching for him. Being part of a family means we all have responsibilities, Abuka. Your father loves you and wants the best for you. That's why he pushes you so hard. Abuka's eyes filled with tears, though he quickly blinked them away. It doesn't feel like love. It feels like pressure. I just want to be free. Neka reached out, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. Freedom comes with responsibility, my son. You are strong and capable, but you must learn to use that strength wisely. Fighting and disobedience will not bring you the peace you seek. Abuka didn't respond, but her words seemed to resonate with him. Neka sighed again and stood. Go and wash up. We will talk more later. As she left the room, she found Angela waiting outside, a worried expression on her face. What happened? Angela asked. Neka shook her head. He's struggling with something, Angela. We need to be patient with him. Angela nodded, her concern deepening. Let's hope he finds his way soon. Together, they resolved to support Abuka through whatever turmoil he was facing, their love for him unshaken despite his troubling behavior. Abuka's transformation from the gentle and dutiful son to a stubborn, unapologetic shadow of himself became more evident with each passing day. It was as if a dark cloud had enveloped his once bright spirit. His sudden rudeness and blatant disregard for authority baffled everyone, especially his family. The day began like any other, with Angela bustling about the kitchen, humming a cheerful tune. She prepared breakfast for the family, hoping the aroma of yam porridge would bring Abuka to the table in a better mood. But when she called him, his response was far from what she expected. Abuka, your food is ready. Come and eat, she called from the doorway. From inside his room, Abuka's voice came back, curt and dismissive. I'll eat when I feel like it. Stop bothering me. Angela frowned, wiping her hands on her wrapper as she walked to his door. She opened it to find him lying on his mat, idly tossing a small wooden carving into the air. Abuka, this behavior of yours has gone too far, Angela said, her voice firm but tinged with worry. What has come over you? This is not how I raised you. Abuka sat up, his face twisted in annoyance. Maybe you should stop trying to control me all the time. I'm not a child anymore, Mama. Angela's eyes widened at his tone. Abuka, I am your mother. You will not speak to me like this. Get up and come to the table now. Abuka stood abruptly, his height towering over her. I said I'll eat when I'm ready. Stop nagging me. Before Angela could respond, his hand lashed out, striking her across the face. The sound of the slap reverberated through the house, silencing the morning chatter of birds outside. Angela stumbled back, her hand flying to her cheek as tears welled in her eyes. She stared at her son in disbelief. Abuka, you slapped me. Neka, Ebuka, and the children rushed into the room, drawn by the commotion. They froze at the sight before them, Angela trembling with shock, her cheek red, and Abuka standing defiantly, his face devoid of remorse. What is going on here? Ebuka demanded, his voice shaking with anger. Angela turned to him, her voice barely above a whisper. He hit me, Ebuka. Ebuka's face darkened as he stepped toward Abuka. You dare raise your hand against your mother? Have you lost your mind? Abuka sneered. Maybe she should learn to stay out of my business. The room erupted in gasps. Neka quickly stepped forward, trying to diffuse the tension. Abuka, what has come over you? Apologize to your mother this instant. But Abuka simply shrugged. I'm not sorry. She's always meddling where she shouldn't. The weight of his words hung heavily in the room. Ebuka clenched his fists, but Neka placed a calming hand on his arm. Let him be for now, Neka said softly. Getting angry won't solve anything. Ebuka reluctantly stepped back, his eyes still blazing with fury. Angela, unable to bear the tension, turned and left the room, tears streaming down her face. That evening, Angela sat alone in her hut, staring at the flickering flame of a lantern. Her mind raced, replaying the events of the morning. How had her once loving son turned into someone so cold and cruel? Desperation clawed at her heart, and she resolved to seek answers. The next day, Angela visited a trusted elder in the village, who directed her to a renowned native seer living on the outskirts of Emi. With a small offering of kola nuts and palm wine, she made her way to the seer's shrine, a small hut surrounded by dense foliage. The seer, an elderly man with piercing eyes and a voice like rustling leaves, welcomed her. "Angela, I have been expecting you. Sit." She sat on a low stool, her hands trembling as she placed the offerings before him. "Great seer, I need your help. My son, he has changed. He is no longer the boy I knew. I fear something dark is at work." The seer nodded, his gaze thoughtful. He took the kola nuts and began to mutter incantations, his hands moving over a tray of white chalk. After a long silence, he spoke. "The boy's change is not natural. There is a force at play, one born of jealousy and deceit." Angela leaned forward, her heart pounding. "Who is behind this? Please, tell me." The seer's eyes grew distant as he stared into the flickering flame of a small clay lamp. "It is someone close to your family, someone you trust." Angela's breath caught. "Who? Who would do such a thing?" The seer hesitated, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The one who—" Before he could finish, a sudden gust of wind blew through the hut, extinguishing the flame and sending the kola nuts scattering across the floor. Angela gasped, her heart racing as the seer's expression darkened. "It seems the spirits do not want me to reveal the name yet," the seer said gravely. "You must be patient, Angela. The truth will come in its own time." Angela's shoulders slumped with frustration, but she nodded. "Thank you, great seer. I will wait for the truth." As she left the shrine and made her way back to the village, Angela's mind swirled with questions and suspicions. Who among them could harbor such malice? And how would she protect her son from the unseen forces pulling him into darkness? Let us know in the comments section if you want part 2.